This will only take a moment. We will be reunited soon.
With that, Nanaya flicked her wrist downward as the weapons began to rain down on him.
Here they come!
As the weapons drew closer and closer, Amos fought through the pain and let his mana flow through his body.
Christy's going to curse my name forever if I fail.
He thought of the turmoil he put his friend through the last time he returned with a serious injury. He then remembered that she installed a camera on his headset.
Who am I fooling? She's probably cursing my name right this second.
The aura weapons were only mere inches away from him now. He no longer had any other choice. Amos shut his eyes and spread his limbs. Then, for a brief moment, all sounds came to a halt, and he could no longer feel the cool night air, as if time itself was at a standstill. After a few moments, his eyes snapped open to find himself surrounded by luminescent white walls that seemed to expand indefinitely. Without a moment's hesitation, he began his mantra, calling forth an entity far greater than any spirit.
O Mother of Terra, grace me with the Phantom's reflection, so they may embody your strength in my time of need.
Will-o'-the-wisps began to dance and swarm around him, eventually congregating and forming the silhouette of what Amos thought to be the visage of a woman with child. The boy had no need for confirmation, for he knew full well who his eyes gazed upon. After a long pause, the entity finally spoke.
Very well, child. I acknowledge your resolve. Heed my power with honor and grace.
The entity then turned to face the boy. It extended its arm and reached for him. The warmness of its giant index finger brought a tingle to his cheeks. Then, in a flash, Amos could make out a large face smiling back at him. Bronze skin, with hair as verdant as tree leaves in springtime, and a massive multicolored eye of a brown, green, and blue variety. Its tone was so vibrant that he could have sworn that he was peering in at the planet Terra itself. This bizarre yet beautiful sight, however, lasted only a fraction of a second, and any recollection of what the boy may have seen would soon fade from his subconscious, gone from the ether and without a trace.
Huh?
Shaken from his momentary trance, Amos looked around. He rubbed his forehead as the memory of where he was found its way back to him.
Oh, that's right.
With a nod, Amos turned towards the entity, now back in its silhouette form, and bowed deeply, giving his thanks.
O Mother, dear Mother of Terra, for this, you have my utmost gratitude.
With this affirmation, Amos felt his being return to the waking realm as the hands of time began to move once more. Now back in the physical plane, his eyes shot open as he uttered the words,
Spectral Count!
Just then, he noticed that the aura weapons closing in on him were no longer visible. In their place, a large amount of spectral energy. It wrapped around his temporary arm, merging with the power bestowed upon him by the spirits of Holden Cemetery. To add to the craziness, Amos's ears were filled with a cacophony of voices. Love, laughter, tragedy, sorrow. He didn't even have time to comprehend any of it, as all of that energy quickly expelled itself from its host, forming a massive orange sphere.
What?
Nanaya's mouth hung agape as she stared down at the phenomenon. She couldn't believe her eyes. All told, neither could Amos. He had used this ability against formidable opponents numerous times, but it had never done anything like this before.
What is this?
In seconds, the sphere emitted a rapid, tempestuous gale, knocking Amos to the ground and launching itself with unrelenting force toward Nanaya. The girl screamed as the impact created an ear-splitting explosion. Its grand force pushed Amos back a few yards upon landing. As he recovered, he noticed Nanaya's body crashing to the ground a few yards away. He took this time to examine himself. He was losing a lot of blood, and his body ached every time he heaved in a breath.
I need to close these wounds,
he thought, seeking help from the spirits of his domain. However, not a single one responded. Amos also came to realize that he could no longer feel their presence either. Looking over to his left, he was surprised to find that his temporary arm had reverted to his usual stump of flesh.
Odd. I didn't end the contract, yet they disappeared anyway.
This perplexed him. Normally, when the energy thrown at him reached a certain threshold, his spectral counter would redirect it. The more powerful the energy, the more difficult the feat. This time, however, it did more than that. It also took the spiritual energy he had gathered before the battle, something he had never known it to do before.
Was it because those spirits had merged with my domain?
No. No, this can't be so.
The sound of someone crying interrupted his thoughts. He turned to see that it was Nanaya. Her sundress was torn, tattered, and covered in mud. She was on her knees, frantically sweeping her hands across the marshy ground near the slew of tombstones.
No, I can't feel them anymore. Where have they gone? Where?
The girl sobbed uncontrollably, nearly hyperventilating as she surveyed the cemetery, becoming increasingly agitated with each passing second. Amos realized that this was his chance to complete the mission. He grabbed his sword with his lone arm and moved swiftly across the yard toward his target.
Sorry, Frida. I may not need your help after all.
Nanaya silently stood up, her back to him. Pressing on, he prepared to thrust his blade through the girl's trapezius, which would then penetrate her heart, an effective finishing blow. He was only inches away when he was pushed back by a turbulent force.
Whoa!
Amos managed to catch himself and gather his bearings before glaring up at the girl.
You...
Nanaya said, her voice cold and monotone. Her small hands knotted into fists and shook violently.
What did you do?
Amos stopped, perplexed by her question.
What are you talking about?
The girl squared around to face the boy, her blonde hair adhering to her tear-stained face, shoulders heaving as she struggled to take in air. Her face contorted into a stony glare that rivaled any of her previous expressions.
What did you do to my friends?
Amos was taken aback by her outburst. It was rife with anguish and hatred. The girl was now brimming with mana. The flower-shaped rune sigil on her left leg glowing bright orange, and the air around them began to shift. Amos couldn't detect any spectral energy. This was her power, and hers alone.
This bodes ill.
Nanaya lowered her head, scowling at the damp dirt beneath her feet.
My friends. My precious friends.
She muttered, her voice trembling as she wiped the bottom of one foot on top of the other.
They're gone. And it is all your fault.
What do you mean they're gone? You aren't making any sense.
Amos didn't intend for that much bass to be in his voice, but he couldn't piece together what this girl was getting at, and it was wearing on his patience. Instantly, Nanaya's head shot up and snapped in his direction. Her eyes shimmered.
This was their place. Their home.
Her voice shook even more as she yelled. She dragged an arm across her face, attempting to wipe away the tears.
We were but humble guests in their resting place. And you drove them away. How could you?
Amos couldn't believe his ears. The realization hit him.
No. You don't mean I...
This was the only connection they had left to this world. It wasn't their time yet.
Nanaya's tears streamed down her cheeks as she gazed from the ground, eyeing a harrowed Amos with disgust.
And now they can never hope to pass on.
Her body shook with sobs.
Because of your actions, my friends, they are forever lost. I was mistaken. You are nothing like me. Leave this place!
Her harsh words pierced him like a hot dagger, cutting deeper than the aura weapons he had taken moments before. Amos had no intention of banishing those spirits from this realm. He shouldn't have been able to do such a thing, as far as he knew. He felt his heart sink to his stomach. As horrid a revelation as it was, he still had a job to do. Amos had mana to spare, but his proficiency in other forms of magic was lacking. His all-around specialty was soul magic, and with the cemetery now completely exorcised, he was barely stronger than the average human teenager. Amos stood his ground, his sword in mid-stance. His act of defiance only seemed to incense the girl further.
I said leave!
She roared. Before Amos could act, she was already upon him with shocking suddenness. Something jabbed sharply into his solar plexus. As a result of the impact, blood erupted from his esophagus, forcing him to lean forward and drop his sword. His gaze was drawn downward as a result of his new precarious position. He didn't have to guess what had hit him so hard. Nanaya was standing on one leg, her right knee pressing against his injured midsection. Amos channeled the adrenaline in his legs and drew back, but only by a couple of feet. The girl came in with a swift left hook. He dodged and grabbed her arm, attempting to throw her over, but the sharp pain in his side allowed her to quickly break away. She threw a right hook that was soon revealed to be a feint, before gutting him with another knee strike, this time with her left. Although he stood at about 5 feet 10 inches, his 5-inch height advantage over Nanaya proved detrimental, making it easy for her to sneak in her knee attacks. That, combined with her incredible speed, turned her into a force to be reckoned with, soul magic or no. Amos knew it was coming, but enduring the pain was a necessary sacrifice in order to lower the target's guard. He coughed up some more blood. His body began to feel numb, senses fading.
No! Not yet!
He quickly dropped to a knee before sweeping his right leg, taking Nanaya's left leg from under her. The force of his sweep pushed her up a few extra inches. Before she could fall, he reached out and grabbed her right ankle, yanked her over, and slammed her face first into the ground. With his target's ankle pressed under his boot, Amos reached down and pulled a large bayonet from the holster on his right leg, bringing it down on Nanaya's back. A strong gust of wind pushed back at the boy's downward stab, knocking the weapon from his grasp. Nanaya then rolled away from her captor. She quickly rose to her feet and brushed herself off. She then dashed forward again in a burst of speed, but Amos was ready this time. Using all the strength he could muster, he struck the girl in the face with his stump before pivoting around to her back. His arm then encircled her neck, the crook of his elbow resting on her trachea. As he anticipated, she tried to push him away by expelling her aura, so he cast another defensive spell, this time a barrier around himself to soften the impact.
Nice try.
Amos rasped, trying his damnedest not to cough.
Like I fall for that again.
Be silent.
She then fought back physically, scratching, clawing, and biting through his flesh. He didn't budge, but he could only resist for so long.
Let go!
Nanaya grimaced, her fingernails digging deep into his arm. She was starting to waver. Amos felt her muscles loosening as she struggled to remain on her feet. Her heart was racing as it sought oxygen from her lungs. Her lack of experience with hand-to-hand combat had reared its head, just as the report predicted. Her affinity for arrow magic gave her strength and speed, but without the discipline to back it up, she would be outmaneuvered every time she faced a trained opponent. If Amos still had his spectral arm, he simply could have snapped her neck and been done with it all, but he was already pushing himself far beyond his limits. Putting the target to sleep to weaken her before the kill appeared to be his sole remaining option.
Look at me. So much time has passed, and I'm still making things harder for myself.
Shut it!
Amos tightened the chokehold, trying to expel what little oxygen she had left to produce. The Barefoot girl simply chuckled before entering a brief coughing fit. Her nails were still digging into his arm. And then, a sudden gust of wind swept past them. This sudden change in the air around them seemed to provide the girl an opportunity to fill her lungs.
If only Chen could see me now.
Nanaya continued. She clenched her right fist, now brimmed with orange energy.
Surely he would scold me for being so thoughtless. I can't have that, can I?
Amos tried to apply more pressure to the smaller target's neck, but no matter how hard he squeezed, all he could feel was the girl's mana circulation as its intensity began to rise at an alarming rate.
This energy, where is she getting it from?
Nanaya croaked as a swirling sphere of energy formed around her fist. The air once again shifted around the two of them.
Matsuda!
She then threw her fist back, pounding Amos square across the face. The sphere gyrated furiously, grinding into his skin before a powerful gale sent him flying backward. He slid violently against the ground, his head and limbs hitting a few jagged rocks before slamming back first into a tall tombstone. The spine-crushing impact forced him to cough up more blood and vomit. His forehead was now wounded, throbbing vigorously. His vision was slowly becoming stained with red. He looked over at his target. She was coughing violently, trying to calm her labored breathing.
You said you'd do anything to get the answers that you seek.
Nanaya panted heavily. She now sported a swollen left eye, and bright red liquid ran down her bruised nose. Amos's offense had done quite a number on her face.
Oh, well then.
The girl took to the sky. Once she was high enough, she closed her eyes and channeled her mana, emitting a massive sphere of red aura floating just above her head. It began to take on a new shape, stretching outward as it ovated into wedge-shaped layers. From where Amos was seated, he could make out the sphere's shape.
Let me show you my resolve!
Amos sat there staggered as he stared up at the large object.
A flower? No.
Nanaya grinned before bringing both of her arms downward. A mighty gale followed, nearing the wind speed of an F5 tornado. The wind rushed through the cemetery as the roots of nearby bushes and shrubs and trees held on to the soil for dear life. The force pinned Amos to the tombstone, as if holding him in place for the oncoming attack.
Masuga,
she uttered, as her eyes produced an emerald luminescence. Her pale sundress and long golden tresses danced in the maelstrom.
Damn, she put everything she had into that previous attack, and she still has enough energy to spare?
With all feeling gone in his arm and legs, Amos could not move, let alone fight against his powerful wind. He could only watch as the red ball of aura shaped itself and dispersed into multiple flowers.
I never stood a chance.
Hana!
The girl roared as the flowers rained down on him. The suffocating aura seeping from them told Amos that he would not survive should this attack land. The sheer amount of red light illuminating the cemetery around him was bound to get caught in the blast as well. Suddenly, a humanoid figure in black dropped down from the sky, landing in front of Amos. Even with his crimson mask and blurred vision, he could make out the ethereal features of the girl staring back at him.
Frida?
She nodded, before standing up straight and turning to face the threat bearing down upon them. The girl quickly shed her tops and began to change her form. Her skin transmogrified into sickly pale blue flesh, similar to Amos's temporary arm. She then stuck both hands into her chest and proceeded to rip open her torso, which made a gross peeling sound. The harsh snapping of bone filled the air as her ribcage sprung open like a bear trap, revealing an ominous black rift in the center.
What?
Nanaya's eyes widened in both wonder and fear. The rift began to vacuum the large sphere. The magnificent gale didn't seem to faze the undead girl one bit, as her feet remained planted firmly on the ground. Nanaya watched helplessly as her strongest attack was being drawn into the girl's body. As soon as the attack was fully absorbed, the undead girl's midsection made a gross squelching sound as it closed itself back up. She reverted to her original appearance and threw her crimson shirt and black leather jacket back on as quickly as she removed them. Her Bon Appetit ability required her to be half nude from the waist up. Replacing her ruined clothes after every use would get quite expensive. So this was the best solution. Any normal person would have found the whole prospect embarrassing or unbecoming. Not this girl. The girl turned to gaze down at Amos. She had limestone skin, round pale green eyes, and long jet black hair tied into a single Arturian braid with a crimson ribbon on top. On the surface, Frida McCoy appeared to be the quintessential teenage beauty, but her speech easily betrayed her true age. Her aforementioned tops were paired with a black and white grid-textured skirt, black leggings, and a pair of black platform boots. This outfit was a bit outside the usual dress protocol for Eden Academy, let alone Order of Eve missions, but no one would dare tell the headmaster's eldest ward what to do.
Another one?
After belching out a tiny orb of red light, which quickly dissipated, Frida's gaze shifted up at Nanaya, who was still in a state of utter disbelief. However, upon receiving the black-haired girl's gaze, she quickly returned the sentiment with an icy glare of her own. Amos could feel an overwhelming amount of aura emanating between both parties. Nanaya brought her gaze over to Amos, back to Frida, then back to him. At that moment, Amos could tell what questions were swarming through her head, judging by her dazed expression. Who was this strange girl? Where did she come from? And how was she able to absorb her strongest attack in mere seconds? Eliminating Subject 724 outright was never his true role. All he had to do was soften her up a bit until Frida swooped in for the kill. At least, that had been the plan they discussed just days prior. Her cue was far overdue. Frida raised a hand to the air. Black aura coursed through her petite body as she made to cast a spell. While the cemetery no longer oozed with paranormal activity, a skilled necromancer like Frida still had thousands of corpses at her disposal, putting Nanaya at a huge disadvantage. The blonde girl's breath caught in her throat. Realizing the looming danger, she clenched her fists and muttered something to herself before swinging her arm clockwise. Suddenly, a giant rift opened up beside her, flowing with immense astral energy. Amos's eyes widened.
A portal?
She intends to flee.
Frida immediately lowered her arm, canceling her Raise Undead spell. But it was too late. Without hesitation, the girl swooped into the portal. Its surface rippled as her body passed through it, and her feet were the last thing they saw before her form completely vanished beyond the rift.
Damn.
Frida clicked her tongue in annoyance as a pair of large bat-like wings sprouted from her back. Crouching, she balanced on the balls of her feet, preparing to leap into the air and give chase.
Wait!
Amos called out to his sister, raising a hand to halt her.
Let her go!
The jet-black girl furrowed an eyebrow. Watching the portal close, her large green eyes then flicked over to the boy, shooting a searching glance. After a few seconds, she snapped her fingers before pointing at him.
Tracking device?
On the hem of her dress. It should pick up her location shortly.
The boy nodded before changing the subject.
You sure took your sweet time.
He grimaced, applying pressure to the wounds he was able to reach.
I know you were only testing me, but did you really have to let her beat me to a pulp like that?
What was it that you were thinking before?
His sister asked, with a rather dull look on her face, her tone devoid of any real emotion. Amos, however, knew her long enough to know when he was about to be mocked.
Sorry, Frida, I may not need your help after all. It was something along those lines, yes?
She placed a finger on her chin, adding insult to injury.
That was a temporary lapse in judgment.
He smiled weakly, blood running down his mouth as he looked up at the girl. His head had hurt so much that he had nearly forgotten that his mind had been intertwined with hers long ago. For as long as someone shares a blood pact with a vampire, the familiar's mind, body, and soul become an extension of their sire. Ergo, the sire can always see what their familiar sees, feel their every emotion, and hear just about every little thought that comes to mind.
Uh-huh.
Frida said as she stood over him, dangling a bottle of green potion above his head.
Here, I need blood from you, so drink up.
Oh, right. Thanks.
Amos said before he tried and failed to reach for the bottle.
I can't feel my arm. Could you help me out a bit?
Frida sighed as she set down the bottle beside her, before grabbing Amos and propping him down from the tombstone, laying him flat on his back.
Ow, ow, ow!
He yelled, raising his hand as high as he could in protest.
Please be gentle.
Beggars cannot be choosers.
Frida sank to her knees. With the potion bottle in hand, she removed the cork.
Hey, wait! You're supposed to shake those first, and you could at least sip me up before you...
And shoved the bottle into his mouth. Amos coughed violently as he guzzled down the potion. As soon as the bottle was emptied, Frida sat him up and smacked his back a couple of times. His wounds were quickly beginning to disappear.
There,
she said dryly, as her brother continued to cough.
Did it go down okay?
Does it look like it went down okay? Ah, well, that wasn't intentional at all, I'm sure. And what's with the strange behavior? Watching you attempt to play mother in any way, shape, or form is simply off-putting, to say the least.
Well, you are most welcome, my dear brother.
There was a heavy layer of sarcasm in her voice as she crawled in between his legs.
Now hold still.
Frida drew closer, ripped the collar off of his skin-tight suit, extended her jaws, and sank her razor-sharp fangs into his exposed neck. Amos, who was used to having 2-inch fangs lodged into his flesh by now, still found himself wincing ever so slightly.
That spectral counter. It was much grander than the ones from previous missions.
Frida's thoughts spoke to Amos, flowing through the boy's subconscious as she fed. Their telepathic bond was so strong that only the world's most powerful psychics could pick up on their frequency.
It is a sign that you are growing much stronger.
Do you really think so?
Amos answered. He didn't feel any stronger. If anything, his exchange with Nanaya proved that he still had a ways to go. No matter what he threw at her, she always seemed to have a counter. As frustrated as he was about that, of all things, the girl's outburst was still fresh on his mind. His physical wounds may have healed, but this wound felt entirely different.
Worry not about what that girl said.
Surprisingly, Frida's words sounded almost comforting.
Exorcising souls is a tremendous feat. Soon you'll be strong enough to lift my curse.
Amos gave a slight nod. The curse. Of course. That's what this all boiled down to in the end. Long ago, when the world was much different, his sister was born to a vampire and a lichen, making her a werepire. Conception between the two races was forbidden at the time, and her hybrid blood had made her a pariah among the monster races, who deemed her an abomination. For the crime of simply existing, the Witches' Council had cursed Frida with eternal life. She was then abandoned in the great forest of Everwood, where she would spend this eternity terrorizing its inhabitants. However, the half-breed girl was soon discovered by the headmaster. With the promise of finding a way to break her curse, he took the werepire girl in and raised her as his first ward for the next millennium. Then, just 5 years ago, the headmaster approached the boy himself. Amos had no recollection of his life before that point, only his name and age. According to the master, his spectral magic was the key to freeing his sister from her curse and finally putting her to rest. This task was the main reason he was brought to this continent. Simply put, He had to do it if he wanted to remember everything. He had only gotten this far because of Frida's training. The least he could do to repay the girl was to break her curse.
I need to get stronger.
He told himself.
Her entire life, she has been denied the very thing that every person will one day experience. She lived a long life and seen everything there is to see, and done everything there is to do. My sister is overdue for a well-earned rest. That much I owe her.
Amos resurfaced from his trance and found himself back in the cemetery. The brush in front of him swayed to and fro as a gust of wind blew upward and through the taller trees, shaking and rattling their poplar leaves. The cool breeze caressing his cheeks felt nice and refreshing after the agonizing pain he had been through just moments prior. He then lowered his gaze, eyes fixed on the one he called his sister. As expected, the werepire girl was still feeding. In fact, she had been feeding for so long that his neck had grown numb. Even though the moonlight was now farther away, Frida's jet-black mane still glistened and sparkled under the luminescent beam, a lot like their target's hair had done 40 minutes prior. Amos found himself momentarily enraptured by the rare sight, before quickly shaking his head in self-admonition. While his sister continued her late-night bloody buffet, he reached up and flicked a familiar switch on his headset.
Wolf to the garden. Come in, Graham Fisher.
Kaname answered the transmission almost immediately.
Wolf!
She cried. There was a great deal of relief in her voice.
Thank the gods you're alright. The feet got cut when you were engaging the target. We'd already thought the worst.
Yeah, sorry about that. Frida's with me now, so it's all good.
He immediately thought of Christy when he asked his next question.
How much did you guys see?
We saw just about everything, up until you got knocked away by that Matsuga.
There was a slight tremble in her voice. Their Eve comrades were like family to Kaname, Amos especially so. And for a brief moment, she honestly thought that she had lost a little brother.
And the camera died right when the target was going in for the kill.
Oh, and twin drills?
Kaname hesitated for a moment.
Yeah, she just stepped out. I think it's safe to say that she may need a bit of time to herself.
I see.
Guilt washed over Amos. He knew all too well that he had a brutal tongue lashing to look forward to when he got back home.
Of course she's angry. I broke my promise. Why wouldn't she be?
Sighing heavily at his looming troubles, he pulled out a handheld tablet.
The target managed to portal out of here. I placed a tracker device on her dress beforehand. I'm sending the map your way now.
Alright, got it.
Kaname beamed before something immediately made her groan.
Ugh, wait. It needs the buffer first. This will take a sec.
Kusanagi.
This may not have been the best time, but Amos couldn't shake this nagging feeling, so he needed to ask.
Hey, so that girl. She said her name was Nadia Kusanagi. You don't think...
Hard to say for sure, but her appearance and DNA profile checks out. We can't really ignore her use of the Matsuga either. It's a Kusanagi bloodline technique after all.
She paused for a moment, perhaps to gather her thoughts.
Either we're dealing with a perfect clone created by those sickos, our clients, or we've all been lied to.
I see.
Amos had detected an unusual note of bitterness in Kaname's voice as she spoke. That alone told him that none of this was sitting well with her either. Thinking back to the headmaster's urgency when he issued this mission, Amos didn't need her to say it outright. All signs pointed to the latter. Nanaya Kusanagi's existence would only serve to reopen a case that the world was already trying to forget.
If your life and everyone in it was suddenly taken away from you in a single day, what would you do if it meant that you could see them again?
The blonde girl's question still lingered in his mind. Numerous questions of his own began to pile up, as Kaname's voice snapped him back into reality.
I know what you're thinking, Wolf, and trust me, I feel the same way. But we can't afford to dwell on that right now. We still have a job to do, don't we?
Yes, Senpai. We certainly do.
He found the sincerity of his upperclassman's words comforting. After a few passing seconds, Kaname spoke again.
Ah, it's finally done. Ooh, it looks like she wound up in Marlea City.
Enemy territory.
Frida queried as she finished her drink, licking the leftover blood from her lips.
Well, it's about time she came up for air.
Not ideal, but nowhere near a problem.
They have Project Galenka and Stardom as their protectors,
said Amos matter-of-factly.
Your point?
My point is, if either of those factions were to catch wind of us, we have no other choice but to deal with them. Need I remind you that Project Galenka has Black Fang as their leader?
Frida thought about it some more as she pulled a large band-aid from her pocket, peeled it from its wrapping, and stuck it over the boy's fresh bite mark. She then crossed her arms and frowned.
Black Fang. Now there is a name. With a man like that at the helm, they do make quite the formidable faction. I suppose they may prove a bit of a problem.
Amos tilted his head quizzically.
You suppose? The guy wrestles drop bears for fun and has even killed 20-foot-tall nightwalkers. And you're telling me that you suppose?
He shook his head in disbelief.
I'm all for a good challenge. You know this. But for the sake of the mission, I don't think we're properly equipped to handle them.
Frida looked disappointed.
To think that an incredibly craven response would come from one of my students, and from my own brother no less. Surely you did not learn such things from me.
What?
Amos gaped at his older sister.
Craven?
He was appalled, yet unsurprised at the habitual callousness of her remarks.
That isn't Craven, sister. It's just common sense.
Excuses.
Why don't I even try?
Alright, you two. Enough of your squabbling.
Kaname reprimanded with a light chuckle.
I've already dispatched Nano-chan and Spitfire. According to their intel, both Project Galanka and Stardom are currently preoccupied with another assignment near Everwood, so direct confrontation is avoidable. They've just uploaded their rendezvous point to our database. Be sure to meet with them there.
A green X icon appeared on Amos's screen. He nodded.
Got it.
The plan was crystal clear. Right next to Marlea City was a town called Little Hojo. The place was chock full of Kanagi and Onmyoji, meaning the number of wayward souls in that general area was significantly smaller than that of Holden Cemetery. Their target's spectral magic wouldn't be nearly as powerful without a large pool of souls in her domain. Thus, overwhelming her with numbers was the ideal strategy.
And Wolf, one more thing.
Yeah?
You'll talk to Twindrils when you get back, won't you? After she calms down, I mean.
Of course, Senpai.
He answered her with no hesitation. Frida didn't say anything, but he could feel her eyes boring into him.
Good, because I need you guys on the same page if we're going to be working together.
Kaname spoke in a very frank tone.
sometimes she can be a bit much, but she does mean well. You should know this by now. I am sure you guys can come to some sort of an understanding if you just talk to each other more, you know?
Understood.
He affirmed, feeling a wave of newfound confidence.
That's what I'm hoping for as well. Although, this isn't the first time I've angered her like this. Are you sure she'd even hear me out?
Definitely. Well, I mean, after she's done pumping you full of holes, if we're being honest.
Unfortunately, that confidence didn't last very long.
You just had to go and make it scary again, didn't you, Senpai?
Amos thought it best to cross that bridge when he came to it. In the meantime, they still had a target to eliminate. He looked over to Frida and gave her a nod.
You ready, partner?
I am always ready. You are the one that always needs tending to.
Well, I'm sorry that we can't all have your absolute healing factor, sis.
Amos mocked, walking over to pick up his sword and returning it to its scabbard.
And besides, what do you mean that I always need tending to? Did I not just feed you?
That is expected when you enter a blood pact with my kind. You are merely fulfilling a legal obligation.
What does that have to do with... whatever.
As he walked back over to her, Amos heaved a sigh. Realizing there was no point in arguing with someone who could kill him, resurrect him, and then kill him again. While she had never done this to him, he had seen her do it to others. Amos knew that he was valuable to Frida, but given her mastery in necromancy and the utter ferocity of her wrath, chances were even he wasn't safe. And he, for one, didn't dare test his luck.
Ungrateful old hag.
Just then, a thought he had fought hard to suppress slipped out into their shared mind. Shocked by his own carelessness, Amos clamped his hand over his mouth as if he had said the insult aloud. Frida's head snapped in his direction, her green wolf-like eyes emitting a faint glow.
I heard that.
No, you didn't.
I most certainly did.
Did not.
Did so.
As their strange telepathic sibling row ended in a momentary draw, Frida spread her wings once again and walked over to the boy.
We have dawdled long enough. I shall deal with you later. At present, let us refocus on our mission. Now, on your knees.
Amos knelt before her, his arm stretched out to the side. The werepire circled the boy and knelt behind him, her chin resting on his shoulder. She then wrapped her thin arms around his waist, securing him. Frida readied her wings as she extended her right knee, her foot flat on the ground. She was getting ready to take off. The boy nodded.
All right, let's do this!
Amos, do not shout when you are so close to my ears. It is quite distracting.
Sorry.
With that, Frida's wings beat frantically a few times before she used her right foot to launch them into the cold night air. As they soared higher and higher, Amos took in his surroundings. In no time at all, the shrubs, trees, and tombstones below became indiscernible. As the two began their flight down south, Amos glanced over to his left and peered down at his amputation. Images of Nanaya's face flashed through his mind's eye. At once, the girl was standing across from him in the endless void. Her eyes welled up and tears streamed down her face. Her lips were moving. He couldn't hear her, but somehow he still made out the words, "Why? Why did you do it? How could you?" Her gaze was drawn deep into his soul, searching for an answer. Unable to come up with one, Amos simply stared back in silence and hating himself for it. A sudden gust of wind broke the awkward hush between them, and the gale swept at her long blonde hair. And then, she was gone.
Huh? No, wait, come back!
In the blink of an eye, Amos was once again soaring through the night in the clutches of the vampire girl. The moon and the yoke in full view. Amos cursed under his breath. He still didn't have a firm grasp on his spectral counter, and this frustrated him. Despite his sister's words of encouragement, the Barefoot girl's tears remained vivid in his head, and her harsh words echoed in his ears.
Because of your actions, my friends, they are forever lost. I was mistaken. You are nothing like me.
Those words had bothered him something fierce, and he still couldn't make any sense of it. No one had ever made him feel this way before. Little did he know, a violent storm was beginning to brew inside his chest.